Okay, it's that time again. It's that time of year. We're going to give all of our art students a chance to make a proper snowflake. Here's some of the terms we're going to talk about as we show you how to do this. You're just going to need some paper, and you can use notebook paper, newspaper, wrapping paper. It doesn't matter. You can use big paper, little paper. Big paper is actually easier than little paper because of all the folding that we'll have to do. So let's get started. Oh, and you're gonna need a pair of scissors, possibly a marker or a pencil of some sort, or a pen or something. So first thing we're gonna do, and let's talk about these things first. So one term, we're going to do a snowflake. One term is hexagonal, or like a hexagon. And that means six-sided. Okay, so proper snowflakes. Every snowflake in nature is formed from water crystals, and water crystallizes in six-sided crystals. So every snowflake has got a six-sided base to it. It's hexagonal. And we're also going to talk about radial symmetry. Radial symmetry means something that is the same from the center out, like a sunburst or the starburst assignment that some of you have just done is from the center out, and it spreads out in patterns that are the same. Bilateral symmetry, and you'll see that in just a little bit. I'll show you just an example that we're going to look at later. Bilateral symmetry is something that could be divided into a mirror image of the other half. So like this Michigan M could be divided, and both halves are a mirror image of themselves. The CH could be divided this way, and both halves are a mirror image, a heart, a Christmas tree, and so forth. So that's bilateral symmetry. Radial symmetry, hexagonal snowflakes is what we're going to make. So let's get started. We're actually going to make this out of paper, and we're going to actually have a snowflake when we're done, and I'll show you a couple examples when we get done. So here we go. Now, this is something you're going to want to pay really close attention to, and don't be afraid. I'm going to put this piece of paper over here so you can see better. Don't be afraid to rewind this, to pause this, to watch it several times. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a square, and we're going to do that by folding this edge over to this edge. Some of you have done this before, making a sailboat or a hat or something like that. So I'm going to line up both edges real good, and then I'm going to just fold it like that. Okay? So now that looks like a triangle to me, but when we open it up, it's going to define a square. So the next thing that we do, and you can draw a line across here if you want, but I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut right along the edge of that, I guess you could call it a triangle, and this is going to cut a rectangle off the edge. But now notice, when I open it up, I have a perfect square, okay? But I'm not going to open it up yet. I'm just showing you that that's a square. Okay, now, here's the secret. So we've got it divided into halves, what will eventually be our snowflake. Problem is, we need to make a six-sided snowflake. So we need to somehow divide this into six sections, and we've already divided it into two. Now comes the tricky part. How do we divide this into three sections? So watch carefully. I'm going to fold this over, but I'm not going to fold it. I'm going to line up the points, and I'm just going to go down here to where it would fold, and just press my finger down just enough, press, just enough, and then I'd see I didn't fold it, but I creased it at the bottom, and that makes a mark for the halfway point. Now, if I were to unfold this into the square, you'd see that that's right in the center of the square. Okay, now this is the trickiest part of the snowflake. And don't be frustrated if you don't get this right away, because this is the hardest part of doing the snowflake. So I'm going to put my fingernail right on that crease, so that I fold starting at that crease. And I'm going to fold this tip up and over, and I'm looking to about 2/3 of the way up. Now I may have to redo this, and this is why it's the hardest part. So I'm going to just fold that for right now. Okay, so I've got something that looks like that. And again, that point is right at that crease, because that's going to be our center point. So that's important. Now I'm going to fold this over right next to this. And I'm going to get this side, hopefully, to line up with this. Now this is where it takes some practice. So here I go. I'm going to fold it right next to that. Uh-oh. Can you see that? It didn't line up on this side. It should be down here like this. But it also has to line up with this crease. So that means I have to go back and I have to adjust this. I hold my crease down here and I have to adjust this back a little bit to make up for that. So it takes a little bit of practice, and there's nothing wrong with practice. Remember, practice makes us all better. So see, you can see the old crease right there. I moved it back a little bit. I still have it lined up with the original center point there. And now I'm going to fold it over right next to that. Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay, so now I folded it over. I folded it over right next to this. And look at these sides line up almost perfectly. That's what we want, okay? So look at that. See what that looks like? And our original center point is still down here. Okay, see that? Okay, now we've divided that into thirds. Now we're going to divide that, and we're going to fold this in half this way. This is still our center point, okay? So I'm going to make what I call the fox head or the Pontiac symbol. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. Pontiac doesn't make any cars anymore, so probably only old people will know what that means. Maybe your parents are watching. They might know what, that's a car I used to have. Okay, so hopefully your parents don't have to talk that way. So see, it kind of looks like the head of a fox or something. Here's the ears and the nose. Okay, so I took that what we had right there, I folded it in half. Now if we get to this point, now the fun part begins. All right, so I'm going to cut the ears off because I want all of my sides to be the same, and some of these are shorter like this. So some of you will have something that looks like this, and you can't see any line here, and some of you will have this line, but this line will be somewhere in there where you can see it, this line that goes straight across. And we're going to cut it, because that's the shortest point. We're going to cut it off right there, so it just looks like a plain old triangle. Okay? Now we can start cutting. Now you can take a pen, if you want, and you can kind of draw out a design that you want to cut. But here's the basic rule. Once you get it to this point, all right, you have to leave some of this fold, usually at least some at the top and at least some at the bottom, and you got to leave some of this fold. If you completely cut this fold off, it's just going to fall into a bunch of scraps of paper. Okay, so I'm going to draw out a design just to show you. You don't have to draw. You can just start cutting and experimenting if you want. I'm going to make kind of a pointed star. So I'm going to start out here, and let me get this where I'm going to just kind of make it. Let me use my Sharpie so you can see a little better. So I'm going to make a cut, something like that. Then I'll come in like that. Maybe I'll go back out, go down. Now, this is going to be the point of my star. Okay, this will be one of the 6 points. So I leave this kind of mostly intact this way. And this over here will be the valleys between the points. So I'm going to make that lower. So I'm going to come in here, maybe make something like that. Maybe I'll go like that right there. And now I'll make a shape here. I'll cut that out. And I can cut that out as long as I leave a little bit. Maybe cut that out. All right, let's see. Let's make a cut here. And it doesn't have to be super, super complicated. And you know what? I can even cut the tip right off. I just have to leave some of each side. So let's see what that looks like. Now, you know what? I'm even going to cut this side here just even a little shorter. Like I'll cut it right there. Okay. I'll show you why in just a little bit. All right. So now I'm going to cut this. So here we go. Now, snowflakes are made out of water crystals or ice crystals. And like I said, they freeze in hexagonal crystals, six-sided crystals. I'm just cutting that out. So probably in your design, you want to use a lot of just straight angular lines. It'll be easier to cut too if you don't have a lot of curved lines, because there's not a lot of, crystals are fairly straight edged. There's not a lot of curves like a heart shape you saw. I think I had a heart shape on one of the bilateral symmetrical designs that I showed you. Also, you might see a bunch of paper scraps flying everywhere. You want to make sure you take care of that, or you're going to have somebody kind of upset with you making a big mess. But this is something, like I said, it takes a little bit of practice, but man, it's worth it, because once you know how to do these, they're really easy, and they really look a whole lot better than those old 4 or 8-sided doily looking. It looks like somebody made a holy, full of placemat, or full of holes placemat or something, because it ends up being rectangular. So there's my shape, okay? And so now I'm going to unfold it carefully so I don't rip it. And remember what I said. See, I have some of that edge still left. That's going to hold it together on that side. And I have some of this edge still left. That's going to hold it together on that side. If you folded it right. If you didn't fold it right, you might still have edges and you unfold it and it falls apart. So we carefully, as we unfold it, now see how it still wants to stay folded that way? I want to fold it back on itself so it lays flat. See how that lays flat now? Because I folded it back the other way. Okay, so now I open it up again. See if this looks like a snowflake. Now I'm going to fold it back the other way a little bit, give it a little squeeze so it lays flat. See how it lays flat? Now I fold this one. Oh, that's looking pretty good. Fold that back, lays flat again. And now one last, this was our original fold. And I fold that fold kind of back so it lays flat. And there we go. There's your snowflake. Now you can make the holes have a variety of sizes if you want. That gives it a little more variety. Okay, so you see how this is a 6-sided snowflake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those were the ones we left out, clear out to the edge. And then the valley is between those. Remember the part that I cut off a little shorter. So I'm going to lay that there, and you can see it. And I'm going to show you a couple other ones. We're going to talk about, maybe you want to try to get creative and put some of these shapes in your snowflake. You can put those in the point. Now it's going to take a little more time and a little more skill to cut them out, but I have a couple other types of snowflakes to show you. They have been folded the same way. Okay, so now this one here, the short tip is not quite as short. Here's the long tip, and I still have parts of the edge, both edges, but I have this right here. And this was meant to make it kind of like a circular one, almost like a ring around the outside edge with points on it. So let's see how this looks. So we carefully unfold this one. Let that flatten out. Fold it back on itself a little bit. Unfold it again. Be careful when you unfold these, like I said before. And we unfold it again. Now I think you can see how this has got like a circular, And notice what's inside of the points. The heart shape. I don't know if you see, that's what it looked like when it was on the point. You see that? That's half of a heart. And so then when you open it up, that becomes a heart shape inside of that point. Trying to fold these back. Now you can hang these as decorations. They even kind of fall like real snowflakes. You can hang these as decorations, or you can even use these as a stencil. And let's say you had a piece of white paper and you laid a bunch of these on there and you just hit it with a little bit of maybe light blue spray paint, and then you take these back up and you've put them on the paper. They would be in white if it was white paper, and then the blue background. You could even make your own wrapping paper that way. So one more thing to show you, I'm going to remind you of these bilateral shapes. So you could put any of these. Now, can you put an S? Like if you're not a Michigan fan and you're a State fan, can you put an S in the thing? No, because, I mean, you can try, but it's not a design that is able to have a mirror image of itself or a bilateral design. So I made this. I don't know if you can see it. I haven't unfolded it yet. Here's the M cut out, and here's the CH on its side. And so let's see what that looks like. And the biggest thing about this is you're going to want to experiment, and not all the experiments will work. Now, I've had a little bit of practice, so I have a pretty good idea of what works and what doesn't work. Okay, so there's the M. I've unfolded it once. You can see the C and the H starting to be on both sides there. So I unfold it again. Okay, you can see them starting to, there's the CH. Unfold it again. These are really fun to do, and they're fun. You can hang them on the window. It doesn't take you very long. I encourage you to try different sizes. We had some people that did started with a paper that was like 4 feet square. Okay, so there's the CH and the Michigan M, and it's a snowflake. Okay, a little bit of a kind of a fat pointed star in the middle there. So here's 3 of our snowflakes. Again, it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to do. Remember, you could even have I've even done them with like paper doll type figures or carolers or something holding hands as the points of the snowflake. Remember these terms, okay? And here's your examples. Remember, you can pause or rewind the video as many times as you want to. And let's see those snowflakes. I will try to include an instruction sheet with this assignment on Google Classroom. I believe I have one that I can attach. So good luck. Make 2 or 3 of these and show me, that you have a little variety, and have fun doing this. Okay, and enjoy, and hopefully, I believe you might be able to get this done in time for us to get a snowstorm. We'll see. Okay, and maybe you can hold some snowflakes in your hand and see if they look the same as your designs. So good luck, be creative, show me those snowflakes.